If you remember last time, we got a description of the elves that looked like elves. This time, we're gonna actually go to the ambush. One of the elves spoke quietly, but Shade could not hear what was said. Okay, so he spoke quietly, but you could not hear what he said. Yes, of course you couldn't hear. The elf spoke quietly so others wouldn't hear. Like, why would you want to hear? I guess you want to, but that doesn't make any sense. The first sentence I read doesn't make any sense. The lady answered with obvious authority, and her guards switched places. The one wearing the helm took the lead, shifting his spear to a readier grip. They passed the Shade's hiding place and the first Urgles without suspicion. The Shade was already savoring his victory when the wind changed direction and swept towards the elves, heavy with the Urgle's stench. I guess that teaches the Shade a very important moral. It's not over until it's over, or something like that. I don't know. I think it's like that. The horses snorted with alarm and tossed their heads. The riders stiffened, eyes flashing from side to side. Then wheeled their mounts around and galloped away. The lady's horse surged forward, leaving her guards far behind. That's not very nice. Forsaking their hiding, the Urgle stood and released a stream of black arrows. Attack my stream of black arrows. I know your arrows that are like stream like water, but you're still attacking with another metaphor that's not necessary. The Shade jumped out from behind a tree and raised his right hand, shouted, Guardzilla! Guardzilla! Guardzilla. A red bolt flashed from his palm towards the elven lady, illuminating the trees with a bloody light. It struck her steed, and the horse toppled with a high-pitched squeal, plowing into the ground chest first. She leapt off the animal with inhuman speeds. Of course it's inhuman, it's elfin. Elven, not elfin. What's elfin? I'm gonna look that up. I don't think it's a word. Landed lightly and then glanced back for her guards. The Urkel's deadly arrows quickly brought down the two elves. They fell from the noble horses, blood pooling in the dirt. As the Urgles rushed towards the slain elves, the Shade screamed, After her! She's the one I want! She's not the one he wants. He wants the thing in the pouch. Which, by the way, they didn't mention since the description. And did I tell you that Urgle and Shade were capitalized, but elves weren't? That's just a thing, maybe you'd know why. um, the monsters grunted and rushed down the trail. A cry tore from the elf's lips as she saw her dead companions. She took a step towards them, then cursed her enemies and bounded into the forest.
I don't like this cough, and I don't like this freezing cold. So either you leave it open, or you put your sweater, or I don't know, wear something.
I'll turn the heat on when I'm done with this.
No, don't turn the heat on. The heat is on. So have that.
Okay, so put on my jacket when I'm done with this.
Just leave it open. So
No.
it will get warm a little bit from
But
this thing.
then the sounds come and interfere with my
No
recording.
sound. No sound.
There's sounds.
Nothing now.
Mom, I can still hear the washing machine and the washing machine, and before there was the pot, and I heard them, and it was interfering with my recording. Please, Mom.
It's too cold. Put the jacket on.
I'll put it on.
No, now. You don't even hear yourself, but I hear you.
I hear myself,
It's
Mom.
the dry street door that you were having since you were a baby. I don't want it. And especially now everybody is talking about the cold flu and stuff.
Sorry you had to witness that. Something that happens daily in my house. Well, we lost an entire minute. Where are we? Where are we? Don't have much time left. We have a page and a half. She bounded into the forest while the Urgles crashed through the trees. The shade climbed a piece of granite that jutted above them in the middle of the forest. That, like a piece of granite in the middle of the forest. That makes perfect sense. From his perch, he could see all of the surrounding forest. He raised his hand and uttered some magic words, Botek Stalari, which I can't pronounce. A quarter-mile section of the forest exploded into flames. It grimly burned one section after another until there was a ring of fire half a league across. Around the ambush site, the flames looked like a molten crown resting on the forest. Satisfied, he watched the ring carefully in case it should falter. The band of fire thickened, contracting the area the Urgles had to search. Suddenly the shade heard shouts and a chorus scream. Through the trees he saw a tree of his charges fall in a pile, mortally wounded. He caught a glimpse of the elf running from the remaining Urgles. She fled towards a craggy piece of granite at tremendous speed. The shade examined the ground 20 feet below, and then jumped and landed nimbly in front of her. She skidded around and sped back to the trail, black Urgle blood dripping from her sword, staining the pouch in her hand. The horned monsters came out of the forest and hemmed her in, blocking the only escape routes. Her head whipped around as she tried to find her way out. Seeing none, she drew herself up with a regal disdain. The shade approached her with raised hands, allowing himself to enjoy her helplessness. We're really running out of time. Get her! As the Urgles surged forward, the elf pulled open the pouch, reached into it, and then let it drop to the ground. In her hands was a large sapphire stone and reflected the angry lights of the fire. She raised it over her head, lips forming a frantic word. Desperate, the shade barked, Gardula! A ball of red flame sprang from his hand and flew towards the elf, fast as an arrow. But he was too late. A flash of emerald light briefly illuminated the forest, and the stone vanished. Then the red fire smote her, and she collapsed. The shade howled in rage and stopped forward, flinging his sword at the tree. It passed halfway through the trunk where it stuck, quivering. If it stuck halfway through the tree, it shouldn't quiver. There's no space to quiver. He shot 9 bolts of energy from his palm, which killed the Urgles instantly. He then ripped his sword free and strode to the elf. Prophecies of revenge, spoken in wretched language only he knew, rolled from his tongue. He clenched his tin hands and glared at the sky. The cold stars stared back, unwinking, otherworldly watchers. Okay, stars aren't cold, they're burning. Disgust curled his lips before he could turn back to the unconscious elf. Her beauty, which would have entranced any mortal man, held no charm for him. He confirmed that the stone was gone, then retrieved his horse from his hiding place among the trees. After tying the elf onto his saddle, he mounted the charger and made his way out of the woods. He quenched the fires in his path, but left the rest to burn, because I'm so evil. Mwahahaha.